So I got the signal that we're live. I'm a little stunned this morning. All right, so good morning. Hey, this is Andrea Benson, Alvaro de Almeida from the Born to Play Futsal TV show, and welcome to the Barn Burner Network on Zingo TV channel 251. Please remember to download both the Barn Burner and Zingo TV apps from their respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. As you download the app, we would love it if you rated the app and left a comment. Both of the apps are free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Amazon TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs made from 2016 onwards. Today's episode is brought to you by the Women in Youth Sports Leadership Summit. It's a virtual event happening on January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in 2021. You can learn more at www.womeninyouthsports.com. So today, Alvaro and I are stoked because we've actually been watching Daniel from afar on what he has been doing for futsal in the Bay Area. So today we are interviewing, I'm hoping I'm getting Daniel's last name right, Daniel Verdejo del Fresno. Is that right?
That's pretty accurate, so don't worry. Good.
Okay, good. Thank you. He is the head of performance, but you're also the co-founder, no, of the Bay Area Futsal Club?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So we're going to have an amazing conversation today about futsal. I'm totally stoked about it. But we always do this. It's an icebreaker question. Today's icebreaker question is, and Alvaro is going to love this one, would you rather fart or burp glitter? Okay,
Fart.
You know glitter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so would you rather burp it out or fart it out?
Fart, no doubt. No doubt.
I really
I don't even need to think about that.
Nice.
No, the problem first I need to translate glitter in my head. So to try to find the connection with that, and now I know what it is. Okay, that's fine. But Andrea, I really need to understand where you're getting this question from. No, don't need to answer right now. Let's keep this.
Okay, that's better.
But I keep this inside my pants for sure.
Oh my God. Nice. Okay, fair enough. Sure. And actually, I'm the same. It'd be difficult to talk. Like if you had to burp glitter out, it would just get everywhere, all over your food. So yeah, I'm totally the same.
Exactly. It's good that we are on the same page.
It is good that we're on the same page because now we're going to talk about futsal.
That's nice. And that was the icebreaker.
All right. So on a serious topic now. So Daniel, can you just give us a bit of your background when it comes to futsal?
Yes, no problem. So, I'm Spanish. I was born in Spain. So being a Spanish guy is like in South America, you grow up playing futsal. So I played futsal when I was a kid, but then I stopped playing pretty soon, to be honest. I stopped playing when I was, I don't know, maybe 13, 14, because at the same time I was running. And since then I've been running, and I've been running at a decent level. So I stopped playing there. However, I still like futsal, so I study futsal. I did my licenses about coaching, and then I had an opportunity to go to England in 2008 because I received a scholarship for my PhD in exercise and sport science. So I went to England in 2008, and over there I started to work in futsal with Manchester Futsal Club, and I stayed 2 seasons over there. Then I moved to Sheffield FC Futsal, 2 more seasons, and then I moved to Loughborough Futsal and the International Futsal Academy. At the same time that I was working with those clubs, 2 seasons in each, I started to work with the federation, with the FA, and I was fortunate enough to spend almost 7 years working with the England futsal national team between 2010 approximately until I moved here to the US in 2016. I moved here in 2016 to California because I had another offer to work in a futsal academy. Then I created my own club. in that period of time, I also collaborated with in America with the PFL, with the potential professional futsal league. I was coaching as an assistant coach the US national team, the PF US national team, in a couple of events in Texas and Florida. And then, as I mentioned in the introduction, during the last winter, I had an opportunity to work with the Libya futsal national team as an assistant coach and fitness coach, sport scientist in the African Cup of Nations to try to qualify for the World Cup. The top 3 teams, they qualify, and we finished 4th. So, we missed out in the last game. But it was very tough if we talk about just the sport, about missing, the opportunity to win a bronze medal and to qualify the team for the World Cup. But it was like a super, super good experience, like personally, because of the situation basically in Libya. It was like super interesting to witness and to see how they live, and we can go there a bit deeper if you want into that. So basically, that has been my journey.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a lot of stuff to talk about this introduction right there. So the way you were describing, Daniel, and being honest with you and open here, the way I when I send a message to you, we have been working and watching and reading a few things that you have been doing for futsal. And before I start my sentences here, thank you for that. I think futsal needs more people, more professionals like you that really are interested to make and to push that agenda forward and help to develop the sport. It doesn't matter where, literally in your case, it doesn't matter where in the world you want to make it work, and that's what you are doing. Thank you for that. Right off the bat, what are the main difference between, we always talk about, I have my experience from Brazil, I have my experience here in Canada right now, creating that experience here day after day. In your opinion, what are the difference between the futsal that you saw and you grew up playing in Spain, in England, that you experienced for a long time, now in US, and this short period in Libya, and other experience you have? What are the main difference? Let's focus on adults at this point.
Okay. So I think in South America, I've never been there, okay? I've never been in South America, but I think in South America and in some countries in Europe, they see futsal as a sport. Of course, it is smaller than football, but it is a sport. And nobody talks how good you could be in football if you play futsal. Nobody talks about that. In England, okay, we had a national team, but the message that the federation was sending always is futsal as a tool to develop better football players. And in the US, I think it's the same thing that in England. So tool to develop better football players, but at the same time, it's a business thing. It is a sport to fill the gap in between fall season and spring season, so to fill the winter. So soccer clubs, they can extend the activities during the winter to generate some income for the coaches as well. So it's an important business sport here about that, which is damaging, is not improving the sport, because you are not really developing futsal. You are just using futsal for football or for your bank account or for other reasons. And I think when I grew up in Spain, it's not like that. In Italy, it's not like that. I presume that in South America, it's not like that. So that is the main thing.
So yeah, I think you nailed a few topics here, a few points. But yes, in Brazil, talking about Brazil, not only in all South America, but in Brazil, we do have this comment, and that's the question right there, right now, is futsal a sport? Is futsal a tool? Is futsal both? Can we separate them? Should we keep working with them together to promote the game? Which one is going to be better for the sports development? So those are the questions that we are asking down in Brazil. But yes, the way I see things here, and I have no problem with people using the sports to make their business. So we
Oh,
are
me
doing our
neither.
business right now. I think this is open to everyone, and it doesn't matter the sport. Any sport or anything in your life can be a business. It's your business.
Exactly.
But when the way you describe is the feeling that I have here. Um, my focus would be more like on the game development side and not only the business aspect. Yes, the business is very important, but I think the sport should be developed more. And that's why I said thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep pushing futsal because you were focused, of course, as a business, but you were interested to make the game, be developed and have more people playing, kids playing, adults playing.
Exactly. And one thing, for example, for me is that, of course, you have to make a living. And by the way, I'm a coach, so my living is futsal right now. So it's my business as well. But the thing is, here, what I really don't understand is you do futsal, but you don't really do futsal. You are doing soccer indoor because you, as a coach, you don't even try to learn futsal. So this is one aspect that I really is like, oh, come on, really? Do they really want to do futsal, or is just something that they have to do because to supplement something else?
Yeah, and that's the point. Or is futsal a sport? That's the question down there in Brazil. Should we keep pushing this or try to sell this sport as a tool to develop soccer? Or should we try to separate a little bit and sell this as a sport itself? For that reason, for those reasons. Other sports, soccer is using futsal tool as a tool. And this is completely impossible to separate in Brazil. Futsal will be a tool always, period. But I think futsal needs to put him itself as something that, okay, I can help, but that's who I am. So that's
Yeah.
the way we should be playing. There's a way to play on the court, either inside or outside, but there's a way to play, and this is futsal. It's not soccer in the gym.
Yes, and for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I think some of the problems there is also the futsal people.
Oh,
So I agree that futsal could help football a lot. I am not saying that, but if I'm a futsal coach, I shouldn't care about helping other things. I should care about if I am now a soccer coach or a football coach. Okay, I should learn from any single sport things that I could apply to football. So if I am as a football coach, I should try to learn from futsal. The thing is for me is there are so many sports, like let's say netball, no? You know netball. So I don't see the netball people saying, hey, let's play netball because it's going to make you a better basketball player. I don't see
Rugby.
rugby saying, hey, let's play rugby because it's going to make you a better American football player, which is true, by the way. I don't see, and there are so on and so on and so on, and even inside the same federation, because they're always talking about, no, but the problem is if we consider FIFA, let's forget about AMF. If we are talking about FIFA, but the thing is, we are under the same federation. We are not a sport. We are a discipline. Well, I'm going to take in the Olympic Games. We have mountain biking, we have road cycling, and we have track cycling. All three under the same federation, and they are in the Olympics. And I don't see the mountain biking coaches saying, hey, let's practice mountain biking because it's going to develop you better for the road cycling. So I think some of the problem is also the futsal people that we want to compare with football, and I don't understand why.
No, I agree with you, but I think the way we are doing down in Brazil, like bringing my experience down there, it's because I think it's easier to sell. We always use soccer.
Yes, I agree.
Easier to sell and show people. So for example, when I start to explain what futsal is here where I live, we always use soccer. We always use soccer to give a reference. So, okay, so why am I going to play this if I can play soccer? And then the easy way is if you play this, you're going to be better there.
Yep.
And then we're always selling the product, I would say, or the sport as something, as a tool to get there and be a better player as a soccer. And that's the question down there. Should we separate and stop doing this right off? Or should we keep going and working together? So that's a huge conversation down in Brazil. That some professors, some coaches in Brazil, they are saying that probably we don't have that, but probably soccer teams they should be paying a fee for futsal clubs for building and creating those players for soccer teams.
Yes.
Because they in Brazil, as I said, is difficult to separate futsal from
Yes, I know.
from soccer, from any player. They played futsal because you have at school, you have in parks, you have everywhere you go. You have a futsal court.
And also now in Brazil, I've been talking with some clubs in Brazil and like football clubs, and most of them they are even implementing futsal in the youth as a 1 day a week or 2 days a week, depending on the club. So yes, they are using futsal, which for me is great, by the way. For me, it's great.
But they're doing this officially right now.
Yes, in the past
But
they did.
what happened in real life is, okay, I am your soccer player, but there is my coach as a futsal player, as a soccer player in club A. He coached me twice a week, and then
Yes.
we play on Saturday. So the other 2 days of the week, I play futsal for
With a
another
few-
club,
Yes,
for another club. So I cannot say that just because I play for Daniel, I am a very good player. The overall experience is making me a player that I am right now. Meaning, if clubs like Vasco da Gama, like now is implementing, Flamengo is official more right now. Palmeiras always had, Santos always had in Brazil, Corinthians always. Um, all those players they are playing officially for the club. But the connection between the department, the futsal department, and the soccer department, it's not the best as it should be.
I know.
So what I'm saying here is just trying to make this work is the player plays soccer. And even if the official club doesn't offer futsal, they are playing futsal somewhere. That's my point. So it's part of their lives, like street soccer, like free time playing futsal and ball games, any place.
I think it's a difficult answer because also you can see from the other perspective. Is futsal really making those players in football, or is the training that they receive in football what is making the foot? You know what I mean? The futsal,
Nice. Yeah, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to go with you because I know how much you studied this. That's where I want to go with you today.
Or is the time that the players they are playing on the streets on their own what is making them to be that good? I think it's a combination of everything. Exactly.
Yeah, everything. Because, for example, one question, last Congress that I was participating down there the question was very simple. When does your player start learning soccer? So which environment is teaching soccer for your player? The club, the street, the school, the free time? Where? Where do you teach soccer to the kids? That the question was about soccer.
Yes.
Okay. But I think we can scratch soccer and put futsal in there, or both. Either way works.
Yes, definitely.
So where and when are the kids learning soccer or futsal?
Probably we don't really have a right answer.
Perfect.
It will depend on your environment, or it will depend on so many things, and I think that is why it's very difficult to answer that. Like to give a general answer valid for everybody.
If you're a product, if you understand that you are a product of the environment you are living in, the skills what you have, and the connections between you and that environment, everything works. Everything is making you to get here or to get there. So all the experience you were exposed to is going to make you that better player. That's the way I am trying to understand that answer right now. But yes, everything can help your player or the best player to be a good player.
Okay, but should it though? Because okay, but that's the question. Should it? Should it not just be should it not just be focused on futsal? Because I can use the hockey example, right? Played street hockey, played road hockey, but at the end of the day, you play hockey, right? Like futsal should stand on its own. No, like yes, it is messy. Okay, you can play street soccer, you can play futsal, but should it not just be? Yeah, I don't know. Just should it not just be more about futsal and not so much about where you came from? Yeah, because it is messy.
But I think you were describing it in a different way, using hockey as an example to explain that all experiences, it doesn't matter where the surface is, the type of the roller you are using, whatever name we have, that thing you put on your foot to play hockey.
Skates.
Thank you. Skates in Portuguese is something different. Is the skateboard?
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. So 2-1. So we won.
Fine.
Anyways, it's a democracy. So anyways, so what you're describing I think is the same as I am trying to describe here.
Yeah.
I'm not focused on if futsal is a sport or not at this point. What I'm saying is, to be a better player, that kid, it doesn't matter the sport he's going to play or she's going to play, she has been exposed to many different experiences related to that sport. In your example is hockey, different sort of hockey, different ways to play hockey. What I'm trying to say, and I think Daniel is the same here, is different ways to play ball games, kicking ball games is gonna make you a better player, either for futsal, either for soccer, or maybe indoor soccer, which is another option here in North America.
I developed something that I don't know if you saw, and also I developed something, and then I saw that after I developed it, I saw something from an Uruguayan coach. He's from Diego D'Alessandro. He's the head coach from Uruguay, and basically it's very similar. And we understand, let's say football is like a big family, like a big tree that you have, like, to get to the 99% of everybody wants to get a football players. So basically let's put football on the top. Mm-hmm. To get to the top, you have in a perfect pathway, you should be playing 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4, 7v7, 9v9, until you get into the 11v11. And then part of this tree or part of this family, you have futsal and you have beach soccer. There are just other different pathways. And I think as coaches, we should provide our players with as many opportunities to play as possible, and then they decide or where to go, which direction. But basically, we should develop them. We shouldn't just trying to funnel them into just one path.
No, I saw that study. I saw your study about that, and I didn't see the Uruguayan study, but I saw the Belgium study because they are all, yeah. So, but again, we're not inventing. I think we're not inventing the wheel. I think
I'm not.
A very good way to see pathways and possibilities to develop those players.
Exactly.
So if you don't have, for example, if you don't have the free time, if you don't have other sports, if you only have soccer, and that kid only plays soccer, what is the best way to develop that kid?
Yes, exactly.
Offering everything. I think that's the way I understand your
right.
study, the way you post that and explain that. Am I wrong?
No, you are perfectly right. And by the way, it's not. I don't know. I think I really feel that the football is always behind other sports in for whatever reason. We have even the example of basketball, that basketball is 5 versus 5, but they invented so many years ago mini basket, where the court is reduced, they play 3 versus 3, the baskets they are smaller, blah 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 blah. So most of the sport, they are trying to adapt the sport to basically the population that is playing, so the kids, the age, and everything. But in football, it's super difficult to changes to make those changes. Super difficult.
But I think the whole structure is super difficult to make changes. If you see rules, for example.
Yes, definitely.
So if you think like that, like the boards, when they change one rule, we have been talking, or journalists or specialists in soccer, they are talking about the possibilities of changing many years ago.
Yes.
And then we have that change or not. Then we're going to keep talking. So yes, it is. The changes are too slow.
Too slow. That's the word.
And to be honest with you, why am I going to change? I don't agree with that, but why am I going to change if we are one of the sports that the majority of the population in the world either play or watch,
Watch.
or
Yes.
pay and consume that sport as a business? Again, come back to business. There's no way to separate the business aspect of that.
Yes, you are right.
So talking about business, how is futsal in US on the development aspect for kids right now? Forget COVID. Let's try to forget we are living in the before COVID hits.
Okay, so futsal in the US is, I think the right word is very fragmented, because there are so many, between quotation marks, federation. There are so many federations that they are trying to run the sport, which actually they are not federations. They are just companies. They are businesses that they run regional and national championships, which is basically a tournament, one weekend tournament that you register your team and you play over there. The real federation, which is US Soccer, they only control the national team, and the national team has been non-existent for 4 years until this year, and then COVID hit it. So we have US Soccer controlling the US national team, but then there is no regulations about futsal. It's just different federations. You can go with US Futsal Federation, or you can go with US Youth Futsal Federation, or you can go with USA Futsal, that now is called United Futsal, and they organize different things. This is one of the problems, in my opinion, because there is no leagues, or the leagues, they are local leagues that they are organized just during the winter months because of what we spoke before. They are not real national or regional championships, like real ones, like official ones. It's just different companies, so it's like a tournament. So what happens is it's very difficult. It's very difficult to have a futsal team training futsal only, like twice a week, 3 times a week, because then there is no leagues to compete on. It's just one tournament in December, one tournament in March, one tournament in July. What do you do between those gaps? So it's very difficult to compete against soccer, because I want to play. Kids want to play games. Let's be honest. Then, in my opinion, one of the other problems is the coaching education. There is very few coaching education available in the US. There is no coaching education at all regulated. Like US soccer does nothing about coaching education. There are all these federations or small associations in the Northeast. There is one that they do small courses, but there is one, I know that there is one online, but there is not a real pathway to develop coaches. So if you don't develop coaches, which basically are the people who teach the sport, it's impossible to develop the sport, because at the end, it's impossible to play futsal because you are playing something indoor that is with a ball and it's 5 versus 5. And then you don't have competitions. So it's very difficult to get people doing that. And also, you don't have a national team that kids, they see, oh, there's a national team over there. And maybe in the future, there is no reference. There is no pathway, basically.
So there's no, but US had a few years ago, had a decent, I would say, for CONCACAF, A decent
So-
national team, man national team, or am I wrong?
So
Because
what-
I know the way you were describing looks like Canada without the federation problem.
Okay, so what happened
Three,
is,
four federations you have in US, we don't
Yes.
have those here, but we share the same problems that you were describing.
so what happened is they have the national team. The team always participated in the CONCACAF. Usually they took the players from indoor soccer. Some of them pretty decent. So they did a couple of times they did pretty good in CONCACAF. In the last CONCACAF, which we are talking now about 4 or 5 years ago, usually in the CONCACAF it is in the past eight teams. They try to qualify for well, they put themselves into the CONCACAF. But in the previous one, it was 9 because Canada applied. So because of ranking, before the CONCACAF, it was a playoff game between Canada and US. So basically, the winner, and it was home and away. Technically, it was 2 games, no?
Yep.
So the winner of that game would go to the CONCACAF to make those top 8. Okay, so Canada beat US. Basically, in the last CONCACAF, US couldn't participate. That was the moment that the federation stopped, for whatever reason, the US national team. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, the team didn't have any training camp, no coach, nothing, until just a year ago, when technically in May this year, so between the first week of May, they had the CONCACAF in Guatemala. So they put a new head coach, Dusan, new technical staff, and they started the program again. They did a couple of training camps. They even traveled to Europe. I think it was the very end of February, beginning of March. They went to Europe to play a tournament. They played 5-6 games over there. They came back, COVID hit it, and they stopped again the program because of COVID. The CONCACAF was cancelled. So right now, I don't know when the CONCACAF is going to happen. Probably, I don't know, February, March 2021. So I presume that the US will put a team there because this year the CONCACAF is huge. 20 countries apply for, so from 9 teams to 20. So you can see the futsal is like boom, it's going up.
Yeah.
So that's the situation here.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
very
the
quickly.
way we were describing, we Canada lost to US in this pre-qualifying, let's call like this, pre-qualifying, I think for 2012. So US beat Canada. And then the last cycle for 2016, Canada beat US.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then now Canada, I think the way you are describing US soccer, so as Canada soccer, they are focusing on, at this point, the adult aspect, if we can say they are focusing on. Here in Canada, what I can say is we have the national tournament, the national championships for men, adult men. We have that. It's like 4 days competition. You play like 4 games, and then we have the national championship champion. And so Canada Soccer is focusing on the adult aspect, and then Canada Soccer is giving the opportunity for local federations or associations, soccer associations, to run futsal programs if and when they want to. So in our province in BC, right now, we had a few I would say times we tried to do something here. There were a few programs that the local federation put in place, but nothing to develop the sports and with a frequency like every other month or every other season, I would say, even even during the winter times, because here in BC, soccer is played during the winter. So even here, we cannot make that connection, like play during summer, soccer during summer, and play futsal during the winter. Here in BC, we can't. We have to play both at the same time.
It is very similar to here.
Okay.
So, but the different thing is that here US soccer doesn't even run the national championships.
Okay.
So who runs it?
For adults.
For adults.
So there's no US championship, or there's no official championship. Like, for example, today,
there is no official championships. The official championships, they are run by US Futsal Federation, which is basically an association that has been doing futsal for 32 years. And
you're not connected to the national federation.
and technically they are related as a affiliated association to US soccer, but it's not really US soccer running the so I think that is one of the big problems there.
Yeah, and then meanwhile we are talking about this. For example, in Sao Paulo, we had 2 days ago the final Paulista Championship.
Yes.
Final, adult final. And then a note here, Pedrinho, former goalie of mine, was champion, playing for Intelli. Nice, I'm very happy. He was 11. When he was 11, he was my player. And now he's playing adult.
Nice.
Anyways, I'm getting old.
The coaching that you did,
I'm getting old, man. And then today we have Corinthians and Magnus for the national.
Today at 1 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. 6 o'clock in Brazil, I think, is 1 o'clock.
6 o'clock in Brazil. I cannot wait to watch that game.
It's gonna be a very good game, man. I'm gonna be working, but it's gonna be a very good game to watch. Yeah, so that's the difference. So we have a lot of things going on some places.
Yes.
And we, of course, if we start talking about problems down in Brazil, we have a lot.
Oh yeah. In Spain too, man. So in Spain too, man. Saying there is no problems in Spain.
For sure. But here, what I can tell here, we don't have the kids development. So when we talk about national federations, we are focusing on adults, and normally men, not women. Men, adult. We don't have the kids. The kids is responsibility for the local association. And I think I don't know. I don't know if this is working, at least here where I am.
I know. I don't think here is working either.
So I have a question. And do you think the professional futsal league would make a difference? Because at least it would give kids a bit of a pathway, and it would kind of get coaches involved, and it would sort of put a more professional level or spin to the sport in the US?
Technically, yes. So technically, yes. I think that could change the sport. However, I don't know if it's going to be happening soon or not, because they have been delaying, and there are not even news right now about when they are thinking about starting or not. So I don't know. I don't really know if it will happen ever.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Hopefully it will, because I really think that will help futsal in the whole country. But at the moment, I don't really know.
Interesting. Because I think about, you mentioned indoor soccer, right? And there's the MASL, and that's where, for the Canadian men's national team, that's where some of the players come from. And it's a good, it's a good incubator, so to speak, right? And it gives the players another option, soccer players or futsal players another option, right? So.
In one hand, Andrea, the way I see AMSL.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear from you, Daniel. How do you see AMSL as a product there in futsal and in US? Because they are making looks like a good business out of that sport, the indoor soccer. And then we don't have anyone from the business aspect to say, okay, let's make it work for futsal. Let's make it a business, a product. Let's sell this. Let's make it work. We're going to have players here. We're going to make this more professional for the spectators, for someone that is going to watch, for someone that is going to experience that at home or on the gymnasium, in the gymnasium when we can go to the gymnasium again. So do you think that indoor sport, indoor soccer in US first, it's how do you see indoor soccer? And do you think should we have more companies, but companies that really want to push the sport forward, develop the sport? Should we have more people trying to invest in futsal and make it work?
So I don't really know a lot about indoor soccer.
Okay.
That's the first one. The second one is I know that indoor soccer was huge here. Slowly, it's going a bit downhill, and I think that they are losing. But yes, the business model is there. And then if we see NBA or if we see the National Hockey League, I really think that in the US they have the business model perfectly, and if they really invest in any indoor sport, yes, it would be very, very successful. I am completely sure about that. But we really need these businessmen to really put a plan together, invest, and then develop the sport. But I really think that because of the mentality, because of they like a high scoring system, because of the show that they create in the sport event, I think they have the conditions to be a very successful sport in the future. But let's see if we need that push from
Yeah.
from income, basically from money.
I know, agree. Andrew, do you have something?
Yeah. So, okay. So actually leading off that, so let's just be honest, this interview has gone completely off the questions, which is great. So I guess my question to you is, in a perfect world, how would you like the US system to develop futsal?
Well, I think it should be a pathway, which I mean like competition for every single age, and there is a pathway, so everybody can play futsal if you are under 8, under 10, under 12, under 14, 15, 16. Then of course you have a national team, you have a female national team, then you have under 21s or under 19s, the same for boys and girls. So it's not really difficult. You only have to copy what you have in football and create the same in futsal, and there is a pathway straight there. Of course, for that you need money.
Yeah.
And but it's exactly the same. You have the coaching education in football, you create the same for futsal. Different licenses, A, B, C, the pro, everything, and that is how you develop a sport, basically.
Yeah, agreed. And so, so kind of going back to your original question, do you think it's sort of it's on the futsal player and the futsal coaches who talk about what soccer is, like they talk about it as a development tool that kind of, again, doesn't help that player pathway? Because we see the same thing in Canada, right? There is no player pathway for futsal, and we have we've had tons of kids that say, "Oh my God, they love futsal," but there's nowhere to go, right?
Yes, and also here, this is something very, very particular for in the country, and this is different from all over the world. Here, you have soccer in the university.
Okay.
Which basically could give you a free education, which is very expensive here when you are 16, 17 years old. So some players, they really focus on soccer because when they finish high school, they really want to get a scholarship to go into college. And this is something that in futsal we cannot offer. This is something that is completely different here.
So you think if we had futsal at NCAA,
if futsal gets somehow into the college competition, the picture will completely change. Completely.
School system, Andrew.
Yeah, interesting.
We're coming back to school system again. So yeah. So what I'm saying here, Daniel, because every time we talk to someone about futsal development, it doesn't matter where we are in the world or talking about any place in the world, school understanding as elementary all the way to high school or university. If futsal gets in that spot, then we're going to have the sports development quicker than clubs, federation, associations. We stop that part of the conversation and then we focus on that stream. So school.
Completely agree.
Interesting. So like so NCAA has D3, right? So there's D1, D2, D3. So like even if it was D3 or even I never know the difference between a college and a university. It doesn't matter. Start
somewhere. Yes. Start somewhere. Daniel, I really would like you to talk about the pathway, a little bit more about the pathway. You described a little bit about the tree and the pathway and the age groups. So if you want to explain that, because I really like the way you put that in presentations. So if you feel free to explain the way you see a pathway. So I don't know if it's going to be applicable for any place in the world, but most of the places, I think they could benefit from your way to see that pathway. So feel free to
Okay,
describe
so
and explain your
at the
idea.
at the very bottom, in my opinion, you should develop physical literacy. So motor skills like jumping, jogging, crawling, all these things, hitting, striking, throwing, the motor skills from the kid. Then we should start in a format that is, for me, of course, we have to modify the size of the ball, and we have to modify the size of the goal, and we have to modify the size of the field, okay? But the format is 1v1, okay? So you should start doing a lot of 1v1s, in my opinion. And I took this from different, as you mentioned, Belgium, Spain, England. So I think you should start with 1v1. Then there's no goalkeepers. Then you should jump into a 3v3. Still no goalkeepers. And this is, I didn't invent that. That Horst Bain, the Netherlands guy, did that like 40 years ago. He called it fan niño. So you play 3 versus 3. Depending on the level, maybe you can put 2 small goals at each end. So basically you are playing with 4 goals. So 3 versus 3, 4 goals. There is no goalkeeper. If the level is very good, maybe you can do the same thing but with 1 goal and you introduce a goalkeeper. But any player from those 3 could be the goalkeeper at each time, and they decide. So basically, you always have an overload. It's a 3 versus 2 technically plus the goalie. From there, you play 5 versus 5, and here is when you introduce for the first ever time the figure of the goalkeeper. So we have 4 versus 4 and goalkeeper. And that is where, if you want, you can introduce futsal. It's a 5 versus 5 game. You can introduce futsal. From there, we go to 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11. I think I put that 11v11, you don't play 11v11 until you are, I think, 16 or 15 years old. So that is, in my opinion, the progression that we should teach. And because I really believe, now I am talking as a soccer coach, that when we are talking about in futsal, there is a lot of touches, there is a lot of decisions, there is a lot of 1v1s. I really think that as a soccer coach, I can create that environment in football, in soccer, to have the same number of touches, the same number of 1v1s, the same number of dribbles, the same number of shots. I only have to adapt the game. So if at the training sessions, I reduce the space, I reduce the numbers, and I do futsal drills in soccer, is the same now. You know what I mean? Talking now as a football coach. The only thing that is different is the competition. That is what I created this pathway: 1v1, 3v3, 5v5, 7v7, 9v9, 11v11 in the competition, because the competition gives something different that you cannot create in training. So, for example, if a player at the back in any format loses the ball because there is a mistake and they score, that feeling about, oh, I did a mistake and they score, and now we are losing and we lost the game because of me, you are learning from those mistakes. And is the feeling of risk, is the feeling of having that responsibility. If you are playing with 10 years old, a 7 or a 9v9 game, the striker doesn't even go back to defend. He has no responsibility about defending. So if the team loses, it's okay. I didn't have any responsibility. When we reduce the space and when we reduce the number of players, what we are creating is an environment that every single one is involved in the game. Even the goalkeeper. So even if the ball is on the other goal, even the goalkeeper is involved, because if they play back, I have to be ready to maybe control the ball and play to the other side. So everybody is mentally engaged the 100% of the time that you are on the field. And that is what we want. We want players that they are thinking, they are engaged, they are making decisions, as much as possible. And that is, you only create that by reducing the numbers and by reducing the space that you play on.
Yeah, you need to be participating at all time. There's no way for you
Yes.
to rest or hide in small-sided games. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter if it's futsal, street, whatever,
Exactly.
number of players on that game. So yeah, you need to participate in all moments of the game, in all phases of the game. You need to be there. That's why maybe we don't have time to go inside methodologies right now, but I think that's why game-based methodologies or player-based methodologies or
Exactly.
environment-based methodologies
Yes.
are much better and develop much more than only the technique based. I'm not saying technique is not important. Yes, it is, but it is part of the whole.
Yep.
It's not the most important thing. It's one part, the whole system.
Yes. In the culture in Spain is like we have the cycle about perception, decision, execution. So when you perceive, you see things, then you make the decision, and then you execute what you want to do. The technique is the execution of what you thought after you saw.
It's not less important, but it's not the first one.
Exactly.
It's the less part. Oh, of course, you need to deliver very well. If it doesn't matter if you see, select the best answer, but don't execute very well.
Yes.
Again, is very important. But again, we have someone saying, our Eduardo is saying that
We've got like 2 minutes left. Okay, so thank you for this conference. So I'm going to do a bit of a wrap up now. So thank you very much for your taking the time for us today, because really what we touched upon and why we'd love to have you back is you talked about coaches education. And, I just listened to you talk about, for the last 10 minutes, what the nuggets that you shared and how soccer, even with, because I know in our federation and our provincial federation, we have to follow certain rules and regulations and how it's coached, but just the methods that you were describing, it's really, it's beneficial for everybody. Should hear that and understand, as Alvaro talks about all the time, actually, is it's game based. It's not drills. They don't really help. So
Daniel, I know we have 2 minutes or less than this right now.
Yes.
Is there any question you would like to address or you'd like us to ask you and you didn't do? Is there something that
I only want to say publicly, like, thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Alvaro, for inviting me. It has been a very, very good conversation because we didn't follow the plan at all, and I like that.
No, which was great.
But for the records, we did a plan. We had a plan.
We had a plan. We had a plan.
Had something.
We had a plan. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. So this show can also be heard on the Barn Burner Network, radio network on its 122 platforms. Please check it out at www.barnburner.ca for all the news and programming. Barn Burner, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And thank you again, Daniel, for taking the time today. Alvaro and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and we would love to have you back to talk about methodologies, because it would be it would be an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.